Hello, everyone. You're watching SK Live. I'm your host, Indranil Basu. Today, we have a very special guest, as always, Mr. Imran Mirza. Uh, he's father of our legend, Sania Mirza, and also her childhood coach. Sir, welcome to SK Live. Very good to see you.
Thank you very much. Great pleasure being here, Indranil.
The pleasure is ours. You came, you took your time out on a Saturday when you should be with your family. You're with us and talking about our favorite sport. It's quite a popular sport. Let's not go by what how many people are actually playing. Tennis is a worldwide sport, and the way it's followed all over. I remember in different offices when big matches happen. When Sani used to play, now she's not playing, and tennis is not happening in full swing. It used to be so different, sir, isn't it? I mean,
Actually, there are, I think, 220 countries that play the sport seriously, and that's what probably makes it such a truly global sport, And the amazing part is that the next champion can come out of any of those 220 countries. It's not that one particular country dominates it. It used to happen many years ago, but not anymore. I think any country can come up with champions, and that's what makes it an amazing sport.
so, is it the second most popular sport after football? Can we say that safely?
It's on par with golf as an individual sport.
Okay. In terms of popularity, how would you
Yes,
rate
in terms of popularity, yes, it matches up with golf as an individual sport. Probably
that?
football is a little bit greater than that.
So, but what a day to talk uh, uh, to you. On a teacher's day. I mean, there can't be any bigger teacher than you. You the way you have set example. Raised the bar as a father, as a coach, as a guide,
Well, you
and,
call it a teacher, but I think I'm more of a student because I've had to learn a lot of things along the way because these were things not taught to me. So I've learned so much along the last 30 years that I've been involved with the sport with Sania and a little bit before that as well.
no, but you obviously started off. You coached her. Can you just tell us how it all began? The idea of starting tennis with Sania. Did she play any other sport apart from tennis? I'm sure she could have been a good batsman also. Because
The thing is, we come from a family that just loves sport, and it was very natural that any child would just get into any sport. And if it was a boy, most of us have played cricket at some level, test level, international level, Ranji Trophy level, or club level. But sport is important to us and something that's a way of life. So it was very normal that she should get into sport. She initially started swimming, and there was a tennis court that used to be just before the swimming pool, and she just we used to pass that every day, and then said tennis was my second love after cricket. So I encouraged her, and she just wanted to play one day, and my wife took her to the courts, and 2 days later, I get a call from the coach out there saying, "Sir, you have to come and see her. She's absolutely amazing for a 6-year-old." And very frankly, I had seen enough sport to know that coaches can be exaggerating at times. So I said, I actually took probably about 4 to 6 months before I first saw her on the tennis court. Those were times when I was working hard to keep the kitchen fires burning. So it was about 4 or 6 months later when I actually went to see her on court. And I really thought she was pretty amazing at 6.5 years of age. And that's where it all began. And that's when we started encouraging her, and things went from one to another until finally she became world number one.
So, what was Sania at 6, and what was special about her? Backhand was, of course, very strong. But
I have pictures of her when she started playing at 6.5, and it was almost identical to what she does today. So it was a gift from God, I believe, the forehand that she played. It was absolutely amazing, and it was something that was very special. But in my case, there were a few people when, some foreign coaches who would go gaga over the fact that she was timing the ball so well. And for me, I had not watched enough tennis to realize that she was that special. I knew she was good, but I did not realize how good she was until I learned a lot more about tennis.
with time we see a lot of things and learn. But sir, I mean, she could have played some other sport. I mean, swimming. You said she was good at swimming, but how, I mean, we see a lot of things, lot of. It's a very expensive sport. I mean, tennis is an expensive sport. I mean, we've seen how people are middle class, a lower middle class family can't afford. I mean, the way you have said raise the bar, as I said. So tell us about that journey. I mean, how did you assess that she can actually get there?
Well, the thing is that when she started out, I don't think we were thinking of becoming world number one or winning a Grand Slam. It was more about enjoying the sport. She was playing the game beautifully. She was enjoying herself, and we just enjoyed watching her do that. And for me, the biggest, probably the biggest contribution I have made to her tennis is taking away pressure. We almost eliminated pressure from her game, because that's something that, as a sports family, as a person coming from a sports family, I understood what pressure was and how it could destroy a sportsman and make them not even enjoy the sport they were playing. So we completely eliminated the pressure from her. This was by giving no importance whatsoever to winning at that point of time. It was about her trying her best, giving her best, and trying her best. So the pressure of winning that most children feel as they are growing up, that was totally missing from her game. And that's something that I think has stood her in good stead, even at the highest level today. Like, people talk about how under pressure she comes up with some of the most brilliant shots, but that's because she's enjoying herself, and she knows if she misses it, she misses it. That's what sport is about. So that's one aspect that I was very particular about, to eliminate pressure. The second thing I was very, very keen about was, I had watched enough tennis to realize that defensive tennis was not something that could work at the international level, and that's where I differed from the normal coaches, the normal coaching process in India. Like the most of the coaches in India, I feel, encourage the players to keep the ball in play and wait for the others to make a mistake. Whereas here, I was always encouraging her to go for it, go for broke. And when initially she has lost to every Tom, Dick, and Harry as she was coming up, because she lacked the consistency while she was going for the big shots. But once she became consistent, so she's lost to a lot of players along the way. But once she became consistent, there was no way any Indian could catch up with her. And I think that's where I was proved right. That's something that I had learned along the way. And I was adamant that I would make sure that she remained an aggressive player.
And as she's continued playing, you also continued watching a lot of tennis matches, as I understand.
Absolutely. Not just watching, but discussing with the greatest names in the business. Like, I have had the good fortune of working with someone like Tony Roche, at a time when he was working with Roger Federer. I have had the good fortune of working with Bob Brett, someone who has coached Boris Becker and Ivanisevic. And I have had the good fortune of working with Sven Gronefeld, who later coached Maria Sharapova. So I've had a lot, and it helped me a lot in helping me learn, because they realized that I couldn't afford to keep them going for too many months. So I would just use their services for a few weeks, and they would teach me a lot of stuff which I use even today. So that's how it worked.
And it's a great advantage to have a father who was so involved. So how did you manage your profession and then coaching Sania, talking to the coaches, taking her to trips, those tours and all that? How did you manage as a
in the junior stages? It was my wife who was doing the traveling, and I would keep close tabs with what was going on. And whenever she came back, I would play a little bit with her and discuss things with her, where she went wrong and what she needed to do. And that's how it went. But once she turned professional, and then we realized that she needed someone full-time on tour, that's when I started traveling. And I think since 2012, I have been traveling full-time with her and worked with her full-time solely as a coach. So that's how it went. Like it has been a team performance all around. Like, the whole family has been involved. That's the way a tennis player comes up. This is not a sport. I've watched so many cricketers come up, but there are other problems. Like, there are politics involved. There are other stuff involved. But in tennis, unless the whole family and the whole team gangs up together to help the player, there's no way that you can produce an international level tennis player. And I think my wife has been a big support. My younger daughter has been a great support, because she has literally grown up as a single parent child. So these were problems we had to negotiate, and everyone chipped in with whatever they could chip in with.
It was really commendable the way the entire family was behind Sania, and what we see today is of course the sacrifices each and everyone made in the family, for Sania. It's amazing.
That is one thing the today's parents of tennis players don't realize, that they first heard about Sania in, I think, 2003, when she won Junior Wimbledon, the doubles in Junior Wimbledon. And so they think that she was an overnight sensation, but it was already 10 years into tennis when she won Junior Wimbledon, people even heard about her. So, they don't realize that 10 years had already gone into her tennis before she was even heard about.
Yeah.
So that is something that I am very keen that, we never got her to play tennis for the fame or for the money. We never realized there was ever going to be money involved. We never realized she would ever be as famous as she became. It was for the love and passion for the game, and that's something that I like to see in parents, which I am a little bit disappointed in today's parents. I think they need to have be very passionate about the sport rather than look at earning a name, fame, and money.
So initially, I mean, don't mind asking you, is it initially it was really taxing financially to support?
Absolutely. No two ways about it. That there was a time when I think her requirement as a junior was about 50 lakhs a year, and I was earning about 10,000 a month. So we had to raise it from the sponsors, and without that, it was virtually impossible. I would either have to sell my house and take a chance with that, which was way too risky. And we did manage to. We were fortunate. That's why I feel she was destined to reach the places where she did, because it's not easy to raise 50 lakhs. Not everyone can do it. You need some special skills. You need some luck. So like I said, yeah, without a parental support, it's virtually impossible to become a tennis player. And as a parent, I've had to be a coach. I've had to be a trainer. I've had to be a financial consultant. I've had to be an accountant. I've had to be a travel agent. So these are things we have to learn. And I didn't realize I was getting into all this when Sania got into tennis.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's not two in one; it's actually many in one.
Yes. So I think that's destiny involved, because there were a lot of things that, I had some special skills. My wife had some special skills, and Sania, of course, had her own talent. So all these combined together. And there's no way that things could have happened if even one of us was unable to do what we needed to do.
Absolutely. And sir, you're such an example for all those father, and of course your wife. She's such an example in front of all the children, who are talented. And you should. What would you tell those parents, whose children are really special in some sport? I mean, you are a perfect example. And what would you tell them, to carry that? You're disappointed.
The most important thing that I would tell them is, don't put pressure on your children, because that's something that kills a child's interest in sport. When you put pressure on them to win, they will. If they are good, you take pressure away, and if they are good, they will perform. That's been my belief, and that's the way I have functioned with Sania, and it has worked. So I believe that's the first thing you need to do. Secondly, a lot of Indian coaches have told me this, that just because I say I'm not a full-time coach, I became a coach in later years. I used to play a little bit of tennis. I learned along the way, and then I coached Sania to get to number one in the world. So because of me, the coaches claim that a lot of parents have messed up their own child's future in tennis, because they thought that if I could do it, everyone could do it. But maybe there was something. I had some talent to gauge the way the sport is played and how it needed to be nurtured. And so I don't think the parents need to be adamant about the fact that they have to become coaches themselves. It worked in my case. It may not work with others. I may have had a few skills which worked, but I took it in my stride, and that's the way it worked. It doesn't have to work in the same way for everyone else. So that's something I think parents need to understand. They can leave the coaching they can choose the right coaches, leave the tennis aspect to them, and work on a lot of other stuff that parents have to do, like raising funds, using it adequately, using it in the right place, guiding your child as far as temperament is concerned. All those things are very important, and there's no need for them. It's not necessary for them to get into coaching. It worked in my case. It may not work with others.
Absolutely. And so you worked so hard on her equipment as well. I mean, understanding how the rackets would work. What kind of threading is important.
You won't believe this, but I think Sania was about 7 years old, and she had a predominantly Western grip, which we realized was not the most the way most people would like to play tennis. So we wanted to change that. We didn't have enough knowledge about how to do that. I actually read a book written by a top level tennis coach of the world. Okay. And he described a 7-year-old girl with the exact similar problem that Sania had, which was a pronounced Western grip. Now, basically, a Western grip is very good for playing the high balls, but it's very bad for playing the low balls, because you need the wrist to be extremely strong to be able to do that. So the coach who was writing the book said that basically, if it was the girl had tremendous ball sense and timing, and if it was a boy, I might have left it because I know I could have strengthened the wrist so that they could be able to pick up the lower balls with a grip like that. But with a girl, I knew she would never get the kind of strength in her wrist to be able to play with that kind of a grip. So I had to change. But he said I had to be extremely careful that I did not get her to lose the timing, which was a special talent that she had. So he said over a period of 6 months, I gradually turned the grip around until she came to the right spot where he needed her to be. So we started doing it. We had no other go. So we started doing the same thing with Sania as a 7-year-old. We got her to about 70% to where we thought she needed to be. And then she was very adamant and absolutely refused to change it any further. She had just decided that it was the perfect grip that she needed to play the forehand that she was capable of playing. So I think that in later years was diagnosed by some of the experts. The grip that she had was just the perfect thing for the forehand which she has, which people say is absolutely something quite sensational.
So, and about the racket, you also did some, you did.
Well, there are things that we had to learn along the way. I didn't. It's something I can tell a lot of parents today and tennis players today. But when we started out, the stringing used to be so much more expensive abroad when we went for tournaments. So we would get about 6 rackets strung out here before traveling for the tournament, so that we would save money there. Because every penny saved was an added tournament,
Yes.
So it took us a while to realize that once the rackets were flying in the aircraft, the tension would change dramatically, and by the time they reached the tennis court for the tournament, Sania was hitting the ball all over the place, But there was no one to guide us until we found out ourselves, and then made some inquiries, and then came to the conclusion that was the problem. So these are problems that, as a pioneer of tennis in India and women's tennis in India, that we had to negotiate. And it took us a while to overcome these things. And it's quite a miracle that she managed to reach the heights that she did in later years.
Sir, did you find any sort of, those reactions which come from the family? You have a girl, why are they playing sport?
Oh, yes, plenty of them. They are not just from family, friends, everyone, well-wishers, everyone. Each one has their own way of thinking. And there were a lot of people who said that, she's playing so much in the sun, she's going to get so dark. I don't know, where are you going to find someone to marry her, So,
oh, God.
So, those kind of problems happen in India. That's India for you. And you have to be able to get over them.
And I remember there was a controversy when she was wearing some short dress. Obviously, you need to wear short dress for tennis, right? And there was a controversy on that also. And how the as a parent, the way you backed. I mean, we used to hear stories about how you just as you said, kept pressure away from Sania all the time, which is.
There were a lot of, we would, my wife and I would form a cocoon around her. There were so many controversies. And I think one of the reasons was that, she was the first, probably the biggest woman sporting icon when she broke onto the scene. So the Indian television media was also just about breaking out in India. And they probably didn't know how to handle a woman sporting icon. And they thought the best way to do that was by blowing up controversies. So there were controversies galore, and they were painful, no doubt about it. We would form a cocoon around Sania so that they never got to her. But they hurt us a lot, and we had to negotiate. There was no other go. I think the players who have come in later, the sportswomen like Saina Nehwal or PV Sindhu, I think they were fortunate that there was already something. I think the Indian media had also matured by then, and they were fortunate in that sense. As a pioneer, Sania had to pay a price. And that's what happened.
Anam didn't try playing tennis. I mean,
well, she was not that keen. She did try, but she also, I had enough of an eye to realize that she didn't have the kind of hand-eye coordination that Sania had. Sania was totally gifted as far as tennis was concerned. Anam has some other skills. She's a good businesswoman, and she's doing well for herself in the business field.
Talking about hand-eye coordination, other day I saw a video of yours. You were batting, and I was quite impressed. You were timing the ball. You played good cricket, and unfortunately, can you tell us how you started? You yourself is a sports person. I will come to the writing part of it later on.
Yeah, I
But
played a bit of cricket myself. I played senior division club cricket, but somehow I was not destined to make it big in cricket. But I did have some talent. It was not nurtured properly. I had problems. I lost my parents very early, very early in my life, and I had to give up cricket when I was about 20 years old. But the nurturing was not there, I think. But what I learned through my failures as a cricketer, I was able to use those in guiding Sania through success in her field. So that I in that way, that what I learned from from playing the sport that I did, it may not
yes,
have been at a very high level, but I was able to use those things to guide Sania in her success.
and your mother was a teacher, and she was a school teacher, and the way she treated everyone in the family. Didn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl. That also was a good orientation for you as a father.
Yes, absolutely. That my father was an engineer. He was the chief engineer in the Indian Railways, and he had no issues at that point of time. Even when my mother was working, I was a working woman, which was a novelty in those days. And no, I have one sister and one brother, and I don't think we were ever treated differently as a boy or as a girl. And my sister went on to become an architect. My brother's an engineer, and I had to give up my education a little bit earlier because of problems in the family, and I still went on to become a builder. So we've all managed to succeed in our different fields.
So which is remarkable, and the kind of cricket legacy you have in the family. Ghulam Ahmed and Asif Iqbal. In fact, I was talking to Asif Iqbal sir the other day, and I said that I was fortunate to interview Sania, and he was so excited, and he saw the interview, he liked it. But what legacy you have? I mean,
Yes,
cricket legacy
absolutely.
is amazing.
That is true. Yeah, it is something that has again that is something that has helped Sania uh, get to the top of her game, because it may be a different sport, but
Yeah,
we understand the psyche that goes behind becoming a top level sports person. And we are very fortunate. We are very proud of the legacy we have in the family. We have four Test cricketers: Ghulam Ahmed, Asif Iqbal, Azharuddin now, and
yes,
Shoaib Malik. And
yeah.
we have a handful of Ranji Trophy players as well. Yeah, so and everyone. I played club cricket, senior division club cricket, and we take this sport as something to be enjoyed, relished, and something that binds us all together. It's not only about becoming a top level player. Of course, if you are good enough, you would like to reach the highest level that you are capable of. But to just think of becoming a Test cricketer or world number when you start off, I think that's too much pressure. That's not something that I would encourage. That's not the way I have looked at sport, and that's not the way our family looks at sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And your son-in-law is, of course, a very, very accomplished cricketer for Pakistan, and the way
Well,
he's
he played for 21 years. He made his debut for Pakistan in 1999, and he's still playing at the age of 38,
yeah.
39. So that's a phenomenal performance, I think.
What I really like is that he's looked after himself so well. I mean, Shoaib Malik right now, Shoaib Malik 10 years ago, the face hasn't
Yeah.
changed. He's not put on weight. It's
I
so
disagree. He has changed. He's actually become fitter in the last 10 years
okay.
because he works.
So is it because of the family? Is it because of the Mirza family that he's become?
No, I think no. That is something. I think genetically he is a fit person, and he works very hard.
Yes.
And he's very careful about his diet. So they are professionals. As professional sportsmen, they know they have to look after their bodies, and that's what they do. Sania is as good as Shoaib as far as that is concerned. She takes
Yeah.
very good care of herself, and to have come back from after delivering a child to the level that she's come back, I think it was phenomenal.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And getting back to that kind of level, amazing, really. And she's like managing it so well as a mother, as a tennis professional, and a wife, and it's amazing. So you also have a lot of music in your family. Your cousin is, of course, the famous Talat Aziz sir, who is a great singer. I mean, tell us about
He's
how
a great singer, but the talent of singing probably is restricted to him. So there's not too much of talent as far as my immediate family among Sania, Anam, and I are concerned. But I think one thing that shows is we have allowed every kind of talent in the family to flower in whatever field they are good at. We've got engineers, we've got lawyers, we've got judges, we've got architects, we've got sports persons, cricketers, tennis players, singers. So we have not restricted ourselves to any one particular field. If someone enjoys something, has special talents in any field, they are welcome to try that. And I think that's what all this proves, the success of so many members of the family in various fields.
No, absolutely. This is what uh, a well-known family like a Mirza. I mean, in Hyderabad, there's so much of reputation. I mean, good reputation. People really look up to the family because of, and especially you, the way you have, carried the entire, legacy forward, which
Well,
is
we are blessed. I'm blessed. We are blessed, no doubt about it. And we are very grateful for that.
so. Money-wise, do you think tennis has improved a little what it was 15 years
I
ago?
think what has happened is like initially when we went around to the sponsors to help us in sponsoring Sania for tournaments before she had earned a name for herself, which is the time when you actually need the money, not after you've made it big. The first reaction of the potential sponsors would be, "What does the father do? Doesn't he do any work?" So they didn't realize that what kind of money it takes to become to nurture a champion in tennis. So I think that has changed a little bit. People have understood now the kind of finances that are required. So in that sense, the current generation is a little bit in a better position than we were, because first we had to explain why the father was a no good person who couldn't even afford to put the child into tennis. They thought that if you are working, you should be able to afford a tennis career. But that's something I think which has improved in the sense the sponsors know that these are the kind of finances required. And so but the negative part is that like initially when we started traveling, we would try and save every penny, and we would be traveling by third class trains for the local tournaments or for the national tournaments. Today, I've seen 7-year-old and 8-year-old kids going for their first tournament to Mumbai from Hyderabad, playing at my academy, and they are looking to stay in a 5-star hotel, flying down from here, and so there's no way they are going to survive long with that kind of approach. However rich you may be, the kind of finances required in tennis are phenomenal, and you have to, unless you use them properly, there's no way that you're going to be successful as far as your tennis career is concerned.
So did you have a gut feeling that that whatever investments are going in from your side, and it's going to pay off, because you were very very confident of her
Not
at that.
really, not really. It was we were not into tennis for money. We were into it for the passion, and a passion that we all shared in the family. Whether it was Sania, whether it was my wife, or whether it was me, or even my younger daughter Anna, we were all very passionate about the sport, and we wanted to achieve things that had never been achieved by an Indian. That was something that kept us going. So the money was as long as the money kept coming in from whatever way, from the sponsors or from my business or whatever, we would still keep going on with it, even if we were saving nothing, not with an eye on making money in later years. So that's we were different in that sense. Today's parents are a little bit more different. When they put in money, they are expecting returns almost within the next 2-3 years. It doesn't happen that way. I've always told the parents at my academy, at the Sania Mirza Tennis Academy, when they come
Yes.
up to me and say, "What do you think? When is she going to play Wimbledon?" I say, "You have to probably he or she will have to play for 10 years before you can even understand whether she has a chance to make it, which means another 5 or 7 years before they make it." So that's the kind of long-term commitment that you need, and that I found a little bit missing in the current generation.
Which is quite sad. Everyone wants. Rome was not built in a day. It takes time.
Like you don't realize it. Like we've been into tennis with Sania for the last 28 years, 28 years, and we are still learning and we are still working hard. So it's not that things came easy. They didn't. People have seen Sania only after she succeeded, but there were tough times. We have had to save every penny. We have had to do all kinds of things which you can't even imagine today. But it takes that years of doing that. If you need a chance to get there, there's no guarantee you'll make it big. But if you need a chance to get there, then you have to sacrifice a lot.
Absolutely. Nothing can come without sacrifice. Sir, tell us about the academy. I mean, you're also managing. How many students are there? How is it? Is it like really expensive to be part of the academy? You're getting sponsor.
No,
You're
the thing is, that Indranil, the thing is, when Sania started out, there were hardly any hard courts in India. They were played on cow dung. We had cow dung courts at that time. So there were a couple of hard courts. One was in the Sikandrabad Club, one at a gentleman's place house, and we had to take special permission from him to go and use that court. And when we went there, it was under lock and key. He would be sleeping, would be waiting for 2 hours to try and get to use it. So I realized how difficult it was for someone who wanted to seriously come up in a sport like tennis. So we tried to give to Hyderabad and to our state of Telangana and to our country an academy of the best quality that we could ever think of. And I think the Sania Mirza Tennis Academy is something in that direction, where we've invested all the money that we have. We have taken no loans either from the banks or taken no help from the government. It's a complete individual enterprise, and we have a 4-acre facility with 9 hard courts of international standard. They have been constructed by Mahesh Bhupati, and the courts are identical to what the Australian Open courts are. We also have 3 clay courts. We have a swimming pool. We have a ground. We have a gymnasium. We have a clubhouse. We also have an boarding and lodging facility now. So it's a complete, state-of-the-art facility. And I think Hyderabadis and Indians as such should be happy to be using that. It's something that we never had when Sania was coming up. We had to go miles and miles away from the country, put in a lot of money to get the kind of facility we have provided over here. We have at best with 12 courts, when we are booming, we have about 100 students. Right now, because of the pandemic, that has gone down considerably. We've had to close it down for some time, and now we are gradually restarting. We have about 25, 30 students now. So we host a lot of national level tournaments and try to give a platform to the budding talent of the country. We also have a scheme where we try to nurture the rural talent of the country. Yes. And we provide free coaching to them, and also provide funds to them where we can to travel for tournaments, which is one of the major expenses once they start getting good enough to be traveling for tournaments. So yeah, we are trying to put in what we can. It's not easy nurturing a champion. I know what it takes, and but it's something that we need to first teach the parents that the kind of effort that is required. That's something that's missing right now.
Absolutely. I mean, a monumental effort to make a champion. And the waiting period you talked about, it's amazing. 10 years you need to wait just to assess.
He has a chance or not.
Yeah, you have to. And the best, in all said and done, the best investment a parent can do is on his or her child, and that's the ultimate thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you are a sportsman too, and you understand that there is no guarantee about international success in any sport. No. Particularly not in tennis, because it's such a competitive sport, because there's so many countries vying for top honors because of the kind of money and fame that it gives you. But it's not only about reaching the topmost level. I think sport teaches you so many things. It teaches you how to win, how to lose, how to handle all these problems, how to put in your best effort, how to perform in front of people, how to take defeat in front of people, how to handle criticism. I think these are great takeaways, which I think is what you should be yearning for. If you're good enough, yes, you should try to reach the highest level you're capable of. And if you're good enough for international level, you would reach that. But if you don't reach that, you're not a failure.
So how would you treat a defeat? When Sania lost a game, came back home or came back to the hotel or came back right in front of you. So what would you tell her?
Firstly, I will tell you one thing, that whenever I was on the court side watching her play, I would always wear dark glasses because I didn't want her to see my eyes, because I would be smiling, but my eyes would sometimes give me away. So I wanted to make sure that she never saw the disappointment if ever there was in my eyes. That was number one. Yeah. Secondly, a defeat was not something that I would immediately talk about immediately after the match, because a player it affects the player in whatever way. And that needs to be respected. So as a parent, I had the advantage that, I could time myself perfectly. Maybe a day or 2 days later, at breakfast, we would be talking about what she had not done right on that particular day, when she was more amenable to listening to the criticism. Rather than, initially getting your frustrations out, when it makes no difference to her what you're saying, because they're just not ready to accept what you're saying immediately after a loss. That is point number 2. Point number 3, we would be playing tournaments, and the day she lost would be the day off for us, because she would have a day off the next day. So we would actually be celebrating by going out for dinner on the night that she lost, because that would be a day off for her, so that we could just ease off from the frustration of having lost. And these are things that help shape the temperament of a child as they're growing up. Because when they realize that winning is not that important, then the pressure is taken away from them at times when they need to perform. And I think that, to me, is my biggest contribution to Sania's temperament.
Absolutely. Did you ever scold your children when they're young?
I think the only time I have been upset with Sania, it was never about a loss. It was, I think, as a junior, when I thought she had not tried her best, and I think that was the only time when I was a little bit harsh on her. But a loss was not something that was to be disappointed about. It was something to learn things about, to improve, and to use in the next tournament that you played.
So what we see, not only in tennis, in other sports, we see either the parents are not at all bothered, or if they are bothered, they are a little overindulgent. They are a little.
You're absolutely right. And tennis is a sport. I've seen this worldwide, because one thing is for sure: there's no way you can produce a player without the support of the parent. But if the parent does the wrong things, then there's no way that a player is going to emerge out of that. So it's very important to learn what you need to do it properly, and then expect some kind of there's some kind of success as far as the child's tennis is concerned. And I'm very particular about. I speak to a lot of parents along the way. I try to give them the benefit of the things that we have learned along the way. It's been a tough ride for us, but we've learned it the hard way. And the response, people listen to me, but I don't think most of them do the things that they need to do. And that, for me, is a little bit disappointing.
So, but one thing is quite certain, that two fathers I can think of is, of course, Imran Mirza sir and Dr. Pace, another great father, guiding a champion. So these two fathers are really special. The way they have taken care of their children.
I would also like to add Mr. CGK Bhupati, Mahesh Bhupati's father, because
Yes.
in India, we do not have a system where you can produce players through the system. It has to be individual effort, which comes from the family. And I think that this clearly shows the roles that the parents and the families have played as far in the success of Leander Pace, Mahesh Bhupati, and Sania Mirza, the 3 top players that have emerged over the last 2 or 3 decades. So, it's very clear to me that that's one thing that I'm trying to do through the academy, the Sania Mirza Tennis Academy. Sania was very special. That so many people have told me, that the top level coaches of the world have told me, that she had phenomenal talent. As far as the forehand is concerned, they believe that there's not going to be another forehand to emerge of the kind that Sania had. So you needed a very special talent to break out of the non-existent system that we had in India as far as tennis is concerned. Things have marginally improved today, but still we have a long way to go. And this is the role that I, as a parent, want to do in India, to try and make a system where a lesser talent maybe than Sania will also be able to reach the heights that she reached, and maybe even go higher.
Absolutely. What a challenge you have taken. Amazing. This is so nice. Generally what happens, apna bachcha ho gaya, baki ka pata nahi. We're not bothered.
Like I said, our family, for us, sport is very almost sacred. So, and it's something that we are all very passionate about, and that's something that is dear to our hearts, and something that we would like to do.
So, we Indians bond a lot over food, especially when Sania won a match. So, what was the best thing you guys enjoyed when you're abroad, won a good match, won a big match actually? How did you?
Normally, if there's another match involved, you would avoid the biryani, but biryani is a favorite in the family. So Sania loves it and I love it, but you wouldn't have it before a match for sure. So during matches, it's generally pasta that you eat with a little bit of chicken, and that's a standard food that tennis players eat. That's another thing that we learned. There was a major tournament she was playing, and as a junior, and we fed her with a lot of meat just before the match, thinking that she needs the strength to play, not knowing any better. And suddenly
Okay.
we realized that when the match started off, she was so slow on the court because it's something that we learned later, that the body needs uses up the energy to digest the food
Yes.
that you've taken. So the timing of what you eat is also something we had to learn the hard way.
Yes. I've heard stories from former Pakistani captain, Mr. Ramiz Raja. He came on a show, SK Live, and he said how Imran Khan stopped eating meat 2 days before a big game because it dehydrates your body when you have a lot of
Yeah,
meat.
because the body works overtime to try and digest the food. So you obviously slow down. Instead of using that energy to move towards the ball and at the speed you need to move, you are actually using up that same energy to digest the food that you've taken in.
So a lot
So
of Indian cricketers we are seeing are turning into vegan. I mean, do you think? I mean, you have studied everything. You are the most, you know, competent person to talk about a sportsman's diet. Also, apart from other things you do, but do you think it's important to be vegan? Does it help in if you're
I think a cricketer may be able to survive being a vegan, but a tennis player, I don't think can survive. That's something that I've watched some top level players try and fail, and they had to give it up because I think you need protein to be able to recover for the match the next day or the following day. You are playing about 5 days. If you are reaching the finals on a regular basis, you are playing about 5 or 6 matches a week, which is you are playing almost every day. So the body has to recover. And unless you have that protein, I can't see where players recovering. And I've seen players fail, some top level players. I don't want to name them, but some top level players have failed in trying to become vegans because the bodies just would not recover.
our first impression of tennis player having bananas during between sets and all that, it gives you so much of energy. So that
Yeah,
is
but
one.
the bananas are something that gives you instant energy. So that's something that you can probably take along the way. But that's not enough to keep you going. There are other stuff. You need protein, you need carbs, and carbs is something that gives you energy over a longer period of time. So you need to eat the right stuff. I think that's part of the coaching. That's something that Sania knows more than I do, and she
Okay.
guides some of the players who at our academy with that.
So is she the menu maker at home in early in the morning? That this is
When
what's
she's
going to
home,
be.
yes, like in the pandemic, she has been, but otherwise, she's never home. We are traveling constantly. So, yeah. As a tennis player, you need to travel about 7 or 8 months a year. So
Yes.
it's a tough life. It's on the road most of the time, and that's so she's. This is the first time I think she's been at home for the last 7 months. Since March, she's been home. Today, she went to Dubai to be with her husband.
Okay. 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 And sir, like without her, it घर थोड़ा सुना सुना लगता है.
Not her. I think without him, her son, Suna Suna ज़्यादा लग रहा है. Because he's also gone.
I can imagine. I can very well imagine. So, and you've been in such a an example as a father. I can't stop praising you about this. But as a father, which is best win Sania had in her career so far? More to come for her, for sure. But
In singles, I would say I would rate a few. Like she beat Hingis twice, which I think was a major achievement. And this was she was playing in Kolkata in I think that was 2006, and she was playing the semi-final against Martina Hingis, and she lost I think 1-2 or something, 6-1, 6-2. And overnight, the next day, the newspapers carried stories of how she was no match for a player of the caliber of Martina Hingis, and how she had absolutely no chance against players of that level. And she was very disappointed because I was there on court side, and she asked me that, do you think I played badly? I said, no, I thought Martina played an amazing game, and I thought that she will struggle to repeat that kind of a performance that she had. So she was taken aback by the kind of response she got from even the experts of the game, and she needed that kind of support at that point of time. Miraculously, the next week she went to South Korea, and in the quarterfinals she was to play Martina Hingis 4 days after she had lost badly to her. And then we discussed the strategy we were going to use. And she spoke to me. I wasn't with her. On the phone, we decided, we had spotted a few chinks in Martina's armor, and
yeah,
we decided to work on that. and she beat her 4 days after the experts had said that she could never ever match someone like Martina Hingis. 4 days later, she beat her 6-love in one set. And that's what sport teaches you. That's what sport is about. That's what amazes me, and that's what keeps us going.
You actually lose to win.
Yes. So that was one big win. She beat her again in Los Angeles a couple of years later. But I think probably the greatest win in a singles career was beating Kuznetsova in Dubai. That was in 2005. Kuznetsova was the reigning U.S. Open champion, and Sania was injured. She had just played in Hyderabad, won the Hyderabad WTA title, the singles title, but she was injured. She had an ankle problem, and she started out. She was down 4-love, 15-30 down, and then she twisted her ankle again, and she was in tears, and she looked up at the family box, and saying, "I can't carry on." She was in tears and said, "I can't carry on. I'm giving up." And I said, "There's a big crowd out here." I just shouted out to her, "There's a big crowd out here coming to see you play. Try and finish the set." So she went back, took some painkillers, and from there, she went on to turn the match around to win 6-4, 6-2. She was love 4, 15-30 down. She won 6-4, 6-2 against the US Open reigning champion. And she played some unbelievable tennis, winner after winner. And Kuznetsova was stunned after that. So I think that, to me, was the biggest win of her career. And I remember that the organizers came up to me and said, "So after she won, we have sold out the stadium till the finals." They expected her to make it to the finals, and they had sold. She's in terms of doubles, I think for me the biggest victory in doubles was there were many, but winning Wimbledon in a very special match, which was described by someone like Roger Federer, who watched the whole match. He said it was one of the best women's doubles matches he had ever watched. I think that was an amazing match because the level of tennis was extremely high. The occasion was absolutely stunning, the finals of Wimbledon. And despite playing their best, Sania and Martina were behind all the while, and yet they turned the match around after being down 1-4 in the third set. So to me, that was one of her greatest wins as well.
So I always thought she was destined to be in top 10 in singles. Had those injuries not occurred, to her. Very sad. Those 3 surgeries, and we keep talking about it all the time.
Yes, I would think that maybe not 10, but top 15, because I think she had a few blemishes in her repertoire when she came to the game, because she would not taught the proper things at the right time. Like her service, there was a technical flaw which was diagnosed when it was too late for it to be corrected. That was point number 1. And her physical fitness level as a normal Indian was not as good as some of the top level tennis players of the world. So that was something that kept her back a little bit. Apart from the serve, the second serve was particularly weak. And those were things that were exploited by the top level players. That would have kept her back from getting to top 10. But I would have still expected her to get to top 15 had she not had the 3 surgeries that she had. She was operated on both the knees as well as the wrist. And to have come back from that to still become world number 1 and to have won 6 Grand Slams, I think, was a truly tremendous performance as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. So it's the stories will keep happening, but we are really looking forward to see a movie on Sania also. As a fan, we're all fans of Sania Mirza also.
It is on the card. The pandemic has pushed us back a little bit, so it'll probably be cut off probably in the next. It'll take 6 months after the pandemic problem is negotiated. It'll probably take 6 months for it to start off, and probably a couple of years more before you see it in the theaters.
It's these real life stories are so captivating for the audience, and we look forward to see those untold stories. And before we let you go, can you just tell us one untold story which has left a very positive impact on the family, on the Mirza family, and you're being the patriarch of the family?
One thing that I do remember, she was playing, I think, in 2005 in US, just before the US Open. She was playing in Forest Hills, and she was 18 years old, and there is a practice where most of the tournaments they have the flags of the countries that are put up. and the Indian flag was put up upside down over there. And she was the first one to notice it. And she refused to play until they managed to get some person, which took almost about 45 minutes for them to turn, to get someone to climb up and turn it in the proper manner. And she refused to play until that was properly done. So that I think for an 18-year, for me, it left a mark on me that how important it was for her, for her country's flag to be flying high. And she has always played for the flag, and that's something that I have been proud of, and something that has given me a lot of pride over the years.
Absolutely, she is really, really the real brand ambassador of India, isn't it? Isn't she? But it was really, really a pleasure, having you on the show and talking so much on
Thank you very
Sania
much.
and the Mirza
Thank you.
family and the
Thank you.
contribution to Indian sports. It was,
My pleasure.
it was. I heard so many stories through you, and stay safe, sir. Thanks for coming on SK Live. It was real
Thank you.
pleasure
Thank you.
talking to you, sir.
Thanks, Indrani. Thank you very much.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot, sir, for being on SK Live. Thanks a lot. Good night, sir. Bye,
Nice.
sir. Bye, sir.